Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back.
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack 2022 Fantasy Football Team Previews. In this episode, we're going to be covering the Chicago Bears, and with me to do that is Dylan Clemons. Let's just jump right into things, shall we? And we'll pull up our quarterbacks here, led by Mr. Justin Fields, overall 129, quarterback 18. His backup is Trevor Siemian. Very capable, but this is clearly Justin Fields' job here. So I don't know, man. Like, what's your thought on Justin Fields taking another step this year and becoming a more reliable fantasy quarterback for us?
I'm not sure that he will, just because the Bears front office, unfortunately, I feel like they haven't set him up for too much success. They got him one offensive lineman to help the very bad offensive line from last year. He came over from the Packers. Obviously, new play caller. He also came over from the Packers, but he's never called plays before. Didn't really get him any help in the wide receiver room. I mean, unless you love Byron Pringle or...
there's a lot of new people.
Right.
Yeah, we'll get to that one.
I mean, there is a couple of good things that we saw last year. His last 5 games played, he was a top 12 quarterback, which is nice to see. He was actually second in the league in air yards per attempt last year, which we kind of knew with him coming out of college that his game was kind of the vertical passing game and stuff. But I do like where he's going at in drafts right now at QB 18. That's pretty decent value. But like I said, just not a ton of weapons, but he does give you that reliability with his legs, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had 420 rushing yards last year in just 12 games played, so that's good to see. I mean, look, some of that also was just he had to run, man. He was like saving his own life, you know. So everything. I don't know if he will, if he doesn't have to, right? I don't know if he will run that much again this year. Like, I want to say Field, and I could be totally off on this, like. For some reason, my memory has it that Justin Fields wasn't a big runner in college, although he didn't have to be, right? He had the amazing offense there in Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, he's talented. Obviously, deep ball is his thing. We'll see. He just, again, not a lot of help here. But, I mean, they could just run the ball. I mean, the running back room is still pretty good.
That's what I'm thinking. And
with Justin Fields, being able to bootleg himself, it's not too bad, but I don't mind the value here as a late round, QB2 in the 2 QB league. He'll be streamable some weeks for sure. That's going to happen.
I'm just not sure there's going to be much consistency out of him this year.
Yeah, 100% agree here. But over here to that running back room, we do have David Montgomery, overall 34, running back 18. Khalil Herbert, 155 and 52. Darrington Evans, 326 and 94. And then a couple guys there to round it out. Do you see this turning into a bit of a committee with Montgomery and Herbert? I mean, Herbert showed, man, when dude, go Hokies, man. I love him. Mm-hmm. But that even surprised me. I knew the guy was talented, but I didn't think he was going to flash like that.
Sure.
He was pretty amazing last year. And any thoughts to this being a bit more of a committee than I think a lot of people are expecting it to be?
I think it's going to be, man. I really do. This offense that's coming over, that Luke Getsy's bringing over from the Packers, it's Kyle Shanahan-ish, supposedly. So it's going to be a lot of one cut and go, and I feel like that really works in Khalil Herbert's favor. Like you said, he really played well when Montgomery was hurt last
Yes, he did.
And don't get me wrong, I love Montgomery. I'm a Bears fan. He runs hard. He breaks a lot of tackles. But he does like to dance behind the line of scrimmage, so I'm not sure the scheme really fits him. So I'm leaning towards it's going to be a little bit of a committee.
Yeah.
Like 60-40-ish in favor of Montgomery?
In today's game, man, it's like I mean that's like workhorse running back, I guess.
Yeah, right.
It's tough, man. I'm trying to see the targets here, which I know isn't. I don't know, because they don't break down the snap count by game very well in what I'm looking at right now. But I was trying to figure out, like later in the season, what was the breakdown, and we're seeing
they actually completely went away from Herbert later in the season.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm looking at week 15 now. It's it's all Montgomery.
Yeah.
So yeah. We'll see. I mean, new play callers. We don't really know what to expect. I would probably lean more like a 65-35 split.
Okay.
But I mean, who knows? I mean, they've done it for a couple of years now, where they just run Montgomery until he's hurt, and then get him out a couple of weeks. Khalil Herbert's proven to be capable, but it could be that they will still run like what the Minnesota Vikings do, where Madison's a very capable running back, but like basically is nobody until Cook gets hurt. So
that could happen too. But we do agree on that they are going to run the ball a lot, I think.
I would think so.
Defensive-minded head coach coming over from the Colts, and obviously second-year quarterback still learning, and two good running backs, like you said. So
2 good running backs and a not so good receiver room. So Darnell Mooney, I think everybody likes him. But, overall 75, wide receiver 30, I think his ceiling is a little bit capped because there's nobody else on this team to take any targets or any, coverage away from him.
Right.
And with them probably running the ball, one of the higher percentages in the league, I would imagine, his ceiling does get capped a little bit. Byron Pringle sitting there, Velus Jones, Equinamia St. Brown, Daz Newsome, David Moore, Tajay Sharp, Dante Pettis. There's so many names on this list. I actually couldn't put them all on the sheet here that we're showing. There's so many new receivers signed. It's crazy.
Yep.
But none of them are anything to write home about. So I guess we just focus on Mooney, right? I mean, what do we what do we think of him this year? You think wide receiver 30 is too low? You think that's about where he should be going? I mean, he should get a ton of targets, like the vast majority of these targets.
Well, looking at it from last year, he saw 140 targets last year, Joe. That's
pretty crazy.
Yeah, with Allen Robinson on the roster, but can he really see much more than 140 targets? I don't think so. He finished at 12.9 fantasy points per game, which was 27th in fantasy football. So that's top tier wide receiver 3 numbers. I think his ceiling's probably top tier wide receiver 2, I would think, just because the offense. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I kind of think he could break into that, I actually kind of think like bottom end of wide receiver 2, just because I still think there's going to be enough inconsistency with this passing game. Fields, as much as we liked his rushing talent for his quarterback floor, his passing floor is much lower, and that is what's going to hurt his receivers. Darnell Mooney. I mean, Mooney had some really, really good weeks and some really, really bad weeks. I mean, he had 20s and 19s and 16, 18, but then a whole bunch of 4s and 5s and 9s and 5, point games. I mean, it's up and down. He basically was mostly touchdown or bust for what he did. I mean, he had a couple games where he just, he would catch. I mean, one game he had 16 targets, only caught 5.
Yeah, they were.
But he had 121 yards and a touchdown though, because it was a 60-yard bomb. So that's what he can do. So it's a matter of, this will be one of the teams where I'm going to be watching reports out of camp. This will be one of the teams where I'm watching the preseason games to see how comfortable Fields looks behind the offensive line, and does he actually be able to get the time to look downfield.
Right.
It's almost like, him and Lawrence were kind of in the same position. It was just like snap, oh crap, and just like ducked their head and ran half the time. Exactly. With Fields, I don't think it was quite as bad, but it was still bad. So Let's just finish things off here with the tight end room. We got Cole Kmet, overall 117, tight end 13, James O'Shaughnessy, and Ryan Griffin. Cole Kmet has been a guy who a lot of people have liked for, a lot. You're pointing to yourself.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts that, he could actually finish inside that top 12, maybe even top 10 tight ends?
I think he will, Joe, just for the sheer volume that he's going to see. He saw 93 targets last year.
Yeah.
Caught 60 balls. Unfortunately, he just didn't catch any touchdowns. That's the crazy part. And I think he finished close to a top 15 tight end with 0 touchdowns. So if you give him 4 or 5 touchdowns, that probably puts him near a top 10 tight end. So no Jimmy Graham there anymore, man. So he's not there to vulture any touchdowns from him. So I'm actually targeting Cole Kmet late in drafts, wherever I can get him.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I do like him at that price point. It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm looking at the touchdowns within the red zone, right? And they're all rushing touchdowns for this team. Sorry, that's game.
They just struggled to get into the end zone. Period. Last year,
it's Darnell Mooney a couple times. It's Jimmy Graham a couple times. The other tight end, Jesper, a couple times. I mean, it's just a bunch of random dudes. And then, Cole Kmet he caught 6 passes for 50 yards inside the red zone, just never scored. But, it was mostly Montgomery and Herbert and Fields, just running the ball in, when they got that close. And unfortunately, that might happen again. But, unless they were to go out and sign a veteran again, like a Jimmy Graham, I kind of think they'll hopefully give him that role instead.
I was gonna say some touchdowns have to come, right? Like 3, 4.
Yeah.
And it can't be 0.
We usually we usually talk about tight ends, and we talk about the guys who scored an abnormal amount of touchdowns the year before, and that's got to come down. This is the opposite. He's got to go up. This has got to normalize the other way, right? So, all right. Well, that is it for the Chicago Bears. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Hit that subscribe button. Leave those comments. Like us. We appreciate it. And make sure you check out some of our other team previews on the YouTube channel. See ya.